Hello. So, with any luck, you have watched my last video, which was the first part of this loot hunting trip where I went to Sittingbourne and searched through the charity shops and CEX and various other places to try and dig up some looting gold. And as you saw, I picked up some stuff. You'll also notice from the rather abrupt ending of the last video that I kind of made the decision to split it into two very last minute, which is probably a good thing in the long run because the one video would have been very, very long. The disadvantage of that is I completely forgot about A, doing a proper ending to the last video, and B, doing any kind of intro to this next video. So here it is. Here I am a couple of days later, and I am saying hello to you. So yeah, this is the efforts of my second location, which is a town called Faversham. It has very quaint architecture, as you'll see, and loads of history. And it also has a wide selection of quite cool charity shops. It doesn't have a CEX, it doesn't have a Poundland, but it did have some cool charity shops. And I was very lucky in that it also had some loot. So, stay tuned, watch the footage of the town, and I'll see you afterwards. Well, not me, past me, we'll see you afterwards to go through what I picked up. So this is the longest piece of individual footage I will ever have recorded in a charity shop, so I hope you have your snacks at hand. First movie I'll pull out is The Call. This, believe it or not, is a WWE studio movie. I kind of remember the publicity on Raw. I've never seen it. I do need to check it out. Next up, you'll see me pulling out Kung Fu Yoga, a Jackie Chan movie with a slip for 50p. Yep, I kept it. Just act surprised when I say later on that I found this is what I got from this shop. What else can we see? So we've got Paw Patrol, we've got some Star Wars, Patch Adams, which is a great movie, Immortals, Romeo and Juliet, 10,000 BC, and we have a Jason Bourne DVD. I do like comedians that use puns of their name as the titles of their live stand-up. I think that's really cool. They then had this massive stack of various different DVDs. Halloween Uncut, which I point out just now, District 9, Boys in the Hood, Monsters vs. Aliens, June, the original one, obviously pointing it out because the remake is coming soon. This is a movie from Film 4 called Gangster No. 1, which I've never heard of, but sounds like quite an original title. Stardust, Sex and the City, Ocean's 11, and yes, A Season of the Simple Life, not to mention Ant's favourite movie, Kung Fu Hustle. Then even more stuff going on. So this first one I pull out is called Dead Again, and it features a very young looking Kenneth Branagh, among others. I was quite interested in that, but as you can tell, I put that back on the shelf. Got On Back, classic. Some more stand up there, Lee Evans. I'm Alan Partridge. And then I pulled this out because it's Naruto, and I know that the books are quite sought after. I've never seen any of the anime TV show, but there was one there, and it was only 50p. The Da Vinci Code, March of the Penguins, Mrs. Brown's Boys. We've even got a copy of Envy. Now, if you've seen this film, you know that it is trash, but there we go. I thought I'd show you it anyway. Ben Stiller, Jack Black. Should be a good combination. It's really not. The Prestige is there. That is easily one of my favourite films. Then a very close-up of Raising Helen. I don't know why. I think it was probably me just readjusting myself in the shop so that I could actually film this lower down shelf. We've got Annie Hall, Donkey Punch, Children of Men. Another great film, that. Triple X movie. There's a Starsky and Hutch PC game. Story of Golf, I think, was the one I pointed out there. For some reason, I don't quite know why, but I pull out the slim case of Madagascar in a minute. I don't know what I thought it was, but it's just Madagascar on a slim case. That is a great animated movie, to be fair, but not really sure why I'm pulling it out there. Brick Mansions, Ronin, and then a Blu-ray of Avatar. Now, I spent a little bit longer looking at this than I really should. It's only 50p, but I was kind of taken by the fact that the rating is a European rating. I was trying to see where it's from. Couldn't really figure it out. I don't need Avatar on DVD or Blu-ray for that end, so
And there's one called Daylight's End, which looks quite interesting. Again, all these movies were 50p, and the sheer volume, as you can see, is absolutely crazy. It's Casino Royale, Fever Pitch, the film version. The book of that is very interesting. I've not seen the film. Minority Report, Walking Tall with The Rock, Pitch Perfect, so common. See so many Pitch Perfects. There's The Unborn there. It's just a horror movie. That's all I'm going to say about that. White Man Can't Jump, obviously a movie I love. There's The Memphis Belle there, which is a classic war movie. Then moving on to the other shelf, various other things here that we see quite often. There's a Peter Kay stand-up, another season or a few episodes of Red Dwarf, Bridesmaids, Footloose, Bruce Almighty, Click. A couple of seasons of Call the Midwife there, if any fans of the TV show. I know my mother is quite into that show. iRobot, Peter Jackson's King Kong, Enemy of the State, which I finally tracked down on Blu-ray. Hallelujah. Now I pulled this out because there's a few releases that got this weird case, Blu-ray case. I don't understand it. It's really odd. I don't see why that was a design choice. And also the inserts are actually part of the casing, which makes it very confusing and very hard to keep, I'd imagine. I got really confused by this because it was so faded I didn't realise what it was, but it was Thunderbirds, the live action one. Open Water is a film I've been meaning to see. I've heard it's really good. I think 101 has a really good release of it. And from one good movie to a trash movie, and that is movie 43. This is the bizarrest thing I've ever seen in my life. I will never own it, but I just thought I'd show you. Alan Carr, From Paris with Love. That movie's weird. John Travolta in a villain role. Borat, New Year's Eve, Apocalypto. Very good titles. There's lots of choice. I think if you were looking for DVDs, this would be a place to go. Like I said, they're all 50p, and they're all in pretty good condition. Got Fury at the top there. Defiance, Chronicles of Riddick, National Treasure 2. What a movie.
So yeah, I decided to split this up because it was quite long. I went immediately after I'd been in Sittingbourne. It was crazy busy. It was a market town. Market was on. There was lots of people about. It has got a few charity shops in it. It's also got some lovely architecture, as you saw from the footage, and a beautiful old cinema, which hopefully will be open soon. The first charity shop that I went into was the Hospices of Hope charity shop. That was the one where the majority of that footage came from, where I was going through the different rows and pulling loads of stuff out. There were some interesting things in there. Not really anything that massively took my fancy. As you know, from the last video, I'd been in Sittingbourne. I picked up quite a bit of stuff. I was starting to be less enthusiastic about what I was seeing. Did come across one thing that I wanted. I'd imagine those of you that have watched a few of my videos probably know what it was. It was, in fact, the Kung Fu Yoga with Jackie Chan. Now, obviously, this comes with a slip, which is one thing, but actually, this was sealed. I've unsealed it since, so I can show you, but this was actually sealed. It was 50p. I don't know whether this is good because I've never heard of it. It is a 2017 film. Make of that what you will. I'm excited to see it. Like I said, I'm probably not going to hang on to these, but I do want to watch it. It's Kung Fu Yoga. It's just 50p. It's got some bonus features on it. I will gladly take a stab at that, especially for the slipcover for 50p. I picked that up in Hospices of Hope, and then I went over the road to that indoor-outdoor market, which had loads of stuff in it. I was really excited because there was loads of stuff outside. There was a couple of things I picked up. There was some Rolling Stones Blu-rays, which I really wanted, but they were priced at £9, which is probably what they're worth. But they'd been out in the sun for about 10 years, and they were really sun damaged, and I was not paying £10 for something that's sun damaged. There was also loads of other sort of budget DVDs, again lots of sun damage, and again actually properly priced. So yeah, left those behind. Then I went in the shop because I was like, oh, at least this stuff will be out of the sun. Oh, it was chaos. I couldn't work out where to go. I had a backpack on which wasn't allowed. I felt like I needed to look at something. I saw some PS1 games. I looked at the PS1 games and I got out there. It was too cramped, too unorganised. I couldn't handle it. I could not handle it at all. I checked out a number of other charity shops. Didn't have much in it. I went into a shelter charity shop. This was really well organised. There was a nice clear walkway, lots of space, much better. Calmed down, had a look at what they had to offer. They had some really good physical media. I picked up some stuff from there actually. I was quite excited. They had some Blu-rays. Now these Blu-rays were appropriately priced. I wanted both of them. They are things that I would have bought. So I went on the CEX website in the store and checked out how much CEX was selling them for. CX is selling them for ever so slightly more than I picked them up for, but not a lot. The first film that I picked up on Blu-ray is the 2-disc edition of Escape from New York. So this is just a standard Blu-ray release. I don't own this on physical media. This is a good movie. I'd like to own it. I like the fact there's a whole disc full of extra special features. It was £3.50. They sell it for £4 in CEX, so 50p cheaper. I would have had to have ordered it from CEX, so there's a £1.95 postage there, or would have had to wait until I come across it, in which case the price may have fluctuated. So I just thought, I'll check the discs. If the discs are good at £3.50, I can justify it. So I bought this. The discs are in great condition. There is some reversible artwork, but it's exactly the same as the other artwork. I don't know why they do that. It's very bizarre. But yeah, 2 discs. Both discs are in really good condition. Here's region B. So yeah, Escape from New York. The other one that I picked up, which sells I think for slightly higher than what I bought it for in CEX, but not by much, this is one that I've been quite interested in watching for a while. I keep seeing it, I keep nearly picking it up, but for £2.50 and a disc that's in really good condition, I couldn't turn down. And that is The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. This is supposed to be really good. I'll let you know. I like the odd manga and anime every now and then, so quite excited about this. The disc is in good condition. This really interestingly has other movies either side. But yeah, £2.50. I'm quite pleased with that. There's a beautiful steelbook that I've seen with this, but I don't like steelbooks that much. Girl Who Leapt Through Time from Shelter, £2.50. I then went into a secondhand bookshop called Past Sentence. I went in there because I am a big fan of an author that writes Western pulp fiction. His name is Louis L'Amour. I'm finding it increasingly hard to find versions of his book. So I went in there on the off chance that they may have one or two. I was blown away. Now this is a tiny little bookshop which is windy and it goes right down the back and it's really low ceiling, so I spent the whole time walking around like this. I asked the lady, I was like, do you have any Louis L'Amour books? And she kind of started to talk to me, but I could see that she didn't really know what I was talking about. I was like, oh, he writes Westerns. And she was like, oh yeah, of course. If you go right to the back of the shop and look on the bottom 2 shelves on the left, you'll see that we've got some Western books. So I was like, oh, 2 shelves, I'll have 1 or 2. Mate, like these shelves, the deep shelves, they had 2 jam-packed rows of books back to back. So you had to I had to physically pull stuff off to look at the books behind it. And then they had piles of books on the floor in front of it. So many Pulp Fiction Westerns. I've never seen so many in my life. This was insane. And there was so many books by a guy called J.T. Edison, who I don't know anything about. But they also had loads of Louis L'Amour books. I had to be selective. So thankfully, in some sense of like, I don't know, foreboding, that's not the right word, but some intuition, I'd taken pictures of my Louis L'Amour collection, and every Louis L'Amour book I checked, apart from the first one, I didn't have. So I had to be really selective about what I picked up. I bought 5 in total, at various different prices, but none of them were more than £2, and it's largely dependent on conditions. I'm not going to go into great detail, I'm just going to show you them because I think most of you are probably not going to be interested in this in the slightest, but it is something that interests me. These books are really easy reads. I picked up Showdown at Yellow Butt. I'm guessing that's how you say it. I don't know. Lovely artwork again. Proper tatty, but you know, most of them are at this point because that's what they were Pulp Fiction. You know, they're so cheap. They were passed along. They were thumbed. They were books that people actually read. This is lovely because it's got this sort of hard tearaway bit of advertising in there. Then I got Fallon. I then picked up High Lonesome, which is another Corgi copy. The artwork on these are fantastic and the stories are just so simple and so straightforward. Probably of their time. So the gender roles and the race roles are very, as would be expected from books that were written in the 50s, 60s and 70s. But they are very easy to read. Hondo, which is one of his most famous stories. This is the first time I've seen a picture of him as well, but there's a picture of the author himself. And the final one I picked up is LANDE. So we've got Hondo and LANDE. And this one is almost mint. Again, it was a little bit more expensive. This one's a newer release, but it's also got a advertising card in it about halfway through where you get some free playing cards and you can preview the next one for free. Oh man, the adverts in this are awesome. Yeah, this is a 2010 release, so this is pretty much brand new anyway, but these are the newer covers. I have a couple like this, but the ones that I really want are these corgi versions. But so yeah, I picked up all of those, which was so exciting for me because I've been looking for some more for months, because I bought my initial set. I think I've got about 7 or 8. I bought all of them in one go as well. I literally cleared out the charity shop and took all of those books in one go. Like my Goosebumps collection, which I'll talk about in a second, I like to pick these up as I go. They're not things that I want to buy online. I just look out for them when I'm out and about. So for me, I'm not going to look up on eBay and bid on them. I just want them as and when I find them. There were a couple of Goosebumps books when I was out and about. Thankfully, I'd had a picture because I was nearly going to buy one of them because I thought I didn't have it, and I did have it. So there was a Horrorland one, and there was the Curse of the Mummy's Tomb in the newer editions, which you can see there in those newer editions, which I've got. So that was quite disappointing. Other than that, I didn't see any Goosebumps books. I feel like they're becoming a bit of a thing. So they're becoming rarer and rarer. When I first started getting these 5 years ago, they were 10 a penny. They were so easy to find. I'm finding increasingly harder and harder to get. There is obviously, as you know from my last loot hunt, there is one other author that I'm looking out for books for at the moment. And that is the master of horror, in my opinion, James Herbert. They had a wealth of James Herbert books. And having already at this point decided that I must have these and having to limit myself to just these, I had to do the same with James Herbert. But the thing with James Herbert, the James Herbert books, was it was really easy choice for me to make. They had loads of titles that I didn't have, but they were all modern looking titles. The two that I picked up look like this. I think this is the original sort of style of the artwork. I could be wrong because I don't know much about it, but this font in particular is one of the earliest fonts that were used for his writing. So these are very early copies. These were £2 each, but these are books I've not seen for a while and I don't have them. This one sounds really interesting. It's the story of a dog who thinks he's a man, or a man who thinks he's a dog. I literally picked these up because I don't have them, but because of the style they're in. So these are 80s. This is early 80s, so 88, 81. But they're still very early editions, and you don't tend to see that font that often anymore. It's the ones like the previous ones that's more common. I prefer these. The Survivor and Fluke. I need you to see the picture of James Herbert on the back of this because it is oozing 70s class, right? My gosh, look at that man. That bookshop I'm going back to at some point in the future. I'm going to have to pick up some JT Edison books because the man has written so much Western pulp fiction. I need to check it out. If you have seen anything I've picked up in this video, please pop in the comments below. If you've read these books or watched these movies, let me know. I'm particularly keen if you've read JT Edison, if he's any good as a pulp fiction, and you've read L'Amour and you want to do a little comparison, let me know. Other than that, I will see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.